everybody, welcome back to the channel. Nice to see you again. Today we've got an unboxing, we've got some new fish. So it's kind of related to this tank. If you've seen this tank in the past, and if you haven't, consider subscribing if you like this kind of stuff. This is my Celestial Pearl Danio tank, but it also has one rogue killifish in here. Because it used to be a killifish tank. I had a pair of killifish. They were the Australe, I'm not sure how you say that to be honest. But the male died a while ago. They're the kind of killifish, I think they only generally last a year anyway. But the female's going into her second year quite happily. So I'm going to set up a new tank for the killifish. So I can have this mainly as a CPD tank and just let them breed in there and do their own thing, because I think the killifish would just gobble up any fry that got born. So I'm thinking of setting up a new tank for her, but I thought, well, let's just get another pair and then I have some options, because I'm sure she is on her last legs. Like I say, it's probably the oldest living record of any killifish. They bred quite successfully for me in the past, so I'm hoping this new pair will breed for me as well. So the idea is that I will eventually get a new tank and I have a project in the works that I can set up over here, so I have 3 tanks in this room rather than the 2 that I've got at the moment. But for right now, this fish is going to go in the fish room. But I have a package here. This is just turned up in the post. And we learned a new word today. I didn't know what an alevin was. So I've had to Google that and see what live alevins are. And now I'm a bit worried because it seems to be a baby salmon. Definitely didn't order a baby salmon. And I have been back on eBay to check. But let's open it up and see what we've got. So we've got a box which appears to be a cannibalized, larger kind of shipping box. Some polystyrene, all looks good. Some newspaper packaging. And then a bag with some more newspaper in it. It's like pass the parcel, this. So then we have 2 little packages inside wrapped in newspaper. No heat pads that I can see. And the water is very cold, but the fish does look to be alive in there. I don't know if you can see that down there. Looks alive, looks good. Very colourful already. Hello, he's checking me out. Very red, which is good for it being such a cold package and having just come from shipping. Quite often when you ship fish, they lose their colour immediately. Because they get a bit stressed out, but that looks good. Let's check out the other one. And this, I believe, is the female. Again, alive, that's a good sign. Again, very cold. Slightly less colour, which is what makes me think it's the female. Not a bad size, actually. I was a bit worried because alevins, you think they're usually fry with the egg sac, apparently, if what I've been Googling is anything to go by. So I'm not quite sure why they called them that, but it could be just me misunderstanding what the word actually means. I like these little fish bags. They sit quite squarely, nicely like that. I might have to look into them, see if I can get them myself. So what we'll do is we'll pop these downstairs and get them floating in their new temporary tank and see how we get on. I'm always interested to see how other people package things. So this has come with what I'd call my old method of shipping fish, where I've kind of bastardised some old bits of polystyrene and fashioned a box out of them. But it works very well, usually. No heat pads, which I'm surprised about, and they obviously are very, very cold, but they've made it, so not too bad. If you've seen my recent video about shipping fish, I've continued to do more and more testing on that. I'm not sure whether I'm going to release another video on it, because I reckon it's probably the most boring video that's ever been made. But let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that as a video, or if I just release the stats and see what we found out. But spoiler alert, I've now wasted 12 heat packs now doing various different tests. I've got these little temperature sensors that you can put in the box, and it does a log every 10 seconds of that. Yeah, every 10 seconds of what the temperature is, so you can see how high and low it goes. So I'm collating all the results in a spreadsheet. I haven't filmed much of it. Well, I filmed a bit of it, but like I say, I think it's going to be a pretty boring video, so I don't know whether to keep going with that or not. But yeah, let me know what you think. Anyway, let's get these guys downstairs and we'll put them into the tank that they're going to live in temporarily, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the project that I've got planned. So down in the fish room, everything's a bit of a disaster zone down here. I've been working in here for the past week, moving tanks around, moving fish around, changing things up a little bit. We'll go on to that in a minute, but basically we're going to get these fish into that tank up there in the corner, which was previously not doing anything, he says as he falls over everything. But I'm just going to float them in there for, I don't know, usual procedure, float them in there for 20 minutes or so, then net them out and drop them in. As we're floating them to get them up to temperature, I'll talk a little bit about some of the other changes that have been going on in here. But let's drop them in now. Ooh. They look pretty good. Let's have a look at them in the bag. So hopefully, as you can see, the light's a bit strong actually. Really cool looking fish, killifish. These are meant to be really easy to breed, and the killifish that I've had in the past, they bred quite easily as well. So that's one of my new things that I'm going for in the fish room. I'm going to try and use it as a breeding room as much as a display place as well. I try and keep the fish room, it's just somewhere to have interesting things, because it's my hobby after all. I want to have interesting things to do, so I'm getting into breeding now. I want to make sure I can tick off some extra species in my list, but it's always fun to when you're breeding new things. So along with that tank up there, we've got the 3 tanks up here, which are the guppy tanks. They will no longer be the guppy tanks actually. What I'm going to do with these 3 is consolidate them all into this big tank here. I say big tank, it's not that big, but I was going to go for kind of colony breeding, as I talked about in my guppy breeding video, rather than line breeding, and try and keep it separated in as much as having all the red fish together, all the yellow fish together, and all the blue fish together. What I'm going to do is just have all the guppies together in this tank, and seeing what interesting offspring we get. I think that'll be really good in terms of genetics and things like that, because I'll keep adding and moving. So as you'll notice on my website, if you've been checking it out, I'm starting to sell guppies on there. I'm waiting till I build up my stock a little bit before we add in too many. But I'll keep adding to my breeding stock just to keep the genetics healthy, and we'll get some really nice looking fish. I mean, these guys down here, I don't know if you can, but I love the colours on some of these guys. So I've just started moving some of these across. And hopefully we'll get some offspring that will be both really genetically strong as well as pretty cool looking. So I love them, for instance. So this tank was previously my one of my bristlenose tanks. What I did was I had this tank, the one down below, and another one over there that was they were all bristlenose tanks. And I thought, that's just getting ridiculous. We don't need that many different bristlenose tanks. So again, check out the website. There's lots of bristlenoses for sale on there, so I need to lighten the load. So this is just going to be guppies and cherry shrimp. Still got the peas over here. I've got some guppy fry in this one just now, just keeping the filter ticking over. And then down here, I've changed this into the pleco palace, if you like. So that's where all my plecos are going to live, but I need to thin out the stock a little bit because I've just got a few too many. I've left it bare bottom as a bit of a trial. I've always kept plecos with sand bottoms or gravel bottoms. So I'm just giving the bare bottom a try because it's easier to keep it clean and things like that. I know you can't tell that by looking at it because they made a right mess when I fed them their green beans earlier. But I will be able to get in there with a siphon and soak that all up, and that'll all be good. Kept this breeder box going here, but just with some snails in it. It's got the red ram's horn snails in because I think it's a little bit easier to pick them out for shipping and things like that if they're all in one small place like that. Not sure what I'm going to do with these tanks. So this is just bettas at the moment, and snails, and some very small baby bristlenoses and things like that. I think I could do with one big long tank, a kind of shallow but long tank on here. And then up here I'll probably move some cories and things like that into here and start some little breeding projects. So I've got 2 or 3 tanks worth of stuff where I'm not entirely sure what to do. So this tank down here, for instance, it's just got a few of the remaining bristlenoses. I've got the Danios in there. So that's quite a long tank. I think that's a 3-foot tank that I've got where I could put something in there. I'm not sure what yet. So I'm really on the lookout for new ideas of what things to breed. So at the moment we've just got some of the baby guppies in here. These are, what, 5 weeks old now, something like that. Doing really well. Starting to see some of the colours come out on some of them. They're pretty cool. So this is the smallest size that I'll sell. I obviously make it a little bit cheaper because they're so much smaller, but I'll sell them as a group. And then I'll have the adults over here that I'll sell once I'll grow some of them up. And if you're after kind of pairs of actual line-bred guppies, then this probably isn't for you, because these are going to be muck guppies. I know I keep stealing that term off my friend Michael from Michael's Fish Room, but I do like a muck guppy. And then over in this tank we've got the angels. I'm starting to fall in love with these guys, so I'm hoping that these will start breeding soon as well. Still kind of undecided as to whether to move these guys up into the display tank or not upstairs with the discus or not. I'm kind of waiting to see if I can see any of them pairing off before I make the final decision, if you like. But yeah, so hopefully we'll have lots of breeding projects going on. So like I say, we've got fry everywhere, mostly guppy fry. We've got a few pleco fry. I've got a couple of the plecos down here sitting on eggs as well, so they'll be kicking out some more fry as well. Tons of cherry shrimp, so if you are interested in buying something, go and check out my website. Links and all that in the description. These guys, they're going to live in here for a little while. We're going to get them in there, get a bit of size on them. I'm not sure if they can live in trios or not, because obviously we've got a male and female here. Thankfully not salmon, and I've got a female upstairs which is obviously an adult. I kind of want to keep them all together, but I'll need to do a bit more research, or let me know, this can be my research, let me know, do they work well in trios, 2 females to 1 male? But whatever happens, I'll need to keep them in here for a little while to put some size on. Let them get up to something that the other one's not going to kick their butts if I do keep them together. And then I have a new project coming where I'm hopefully going to get a new tank set up. So, like I say, if you haven't already, please click that subscribe button and then you won't miss these new ones coming out. Got some decent projects coming as well, so it'd be good if you want to follow along. Right, so I'll get these guys in. I'm actually just going to dump these in with the water. So normally I'd make a big speech about how you don't want to get the dirty water from wherever you bought the fish from into the tank, but there's nothing else in these. In this tank, so I can just empty it out. As always, when I get fish shipped, I'm not really that bothered about drip up acclimation. So I think it's much safer just to get them out and get them in, because there can be an ammonia build-up if they're in these tiny bags overnight. And when you let the oxygen rush in, that can make it a lot more dangerous than the effects of changing the pH, which shouldn't be that different. Because when ammonia is in the bags themselves, the ammonia is not that toxic when there's a low oxygen environment, but as soon as that oxygen rushes in, that ammonia changes to really toxic. Obviously it is that toxic, but it's not as dangerous for the fish at that concentration until the oxygen mixes in with it, and then it can become quite dangerous. But they look happy enough. This aquarium is probably a little too small for these fish if they were going to be living in it full time, but it's perfect for them just to have a little bit of a grow out tank almost, if you like. Okay folks, they've been in a couple of hours, they're looking good, everyone seems happy, so we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching, and remember, if this is your kind of thing, click that button down there and make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!